Hey guys, it's Uncle Stitch. Welcome to another knife review. It's not often I bring something out of my private collection, but this is one that is worth mentioning. This is a 2002 Microtech Halo 2. This is the model that has the 154 cm blade. For those of you who are unfamiliar, which most of you who are typing in Halo 2 probably know what a halo is. High altitude, low open. So this was originally created by Anthony Marfione in 1995. That was the Halo 1. He wanted to produce quite possibly the world's greatest out the front knife. He wanted to produce an OTF that was built to very high tolerances and used premium steels and was actually useful. For those of you who weren't alive during the times, then I'll kind of explain things to you that OTFs back in the 80s, there was a company called Bell that produced OTFs, and there was another one. They produced one that was called the Onyx. I can't quite remember what it was, but essentially OTFs were not really a knife that you would use in any situation. Some of the, like if you research the 1980s OTFs, they literally look like somebody took the blade off of a case knife and stuck it on and out the front. They just, they were nothing like Anthony Marfione's Halo. Nothing. There are several different variations of the Halo. There's the newer ones. They've got all kinds of different Damascus, partially serrations, different blade styles. They've got tantos, they've got clip points. Among the Halos, that one of the reasons why the Halo 2 is so highly sought after is because the Halo 2 was an upgraded version of the Halo 1. And basically what I'm referring to is the type of materials that were upgraded. This one, the Halo 2, kind of introduced the more refined internal mechanics, upgraded materials, and higher precision tolerances. These blades do not wiggle, and that if you look at the OTFs from the 80s, you'd be like, wow, those 80s OTFs are pieces of trash. Basically, the Halo set the standard for OTFs. There's a lot of different knife companies out there that produce OTFs, but there's a reason why in my collection you're seeing a lot of Microtechs, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But the Halo 2, if you Google that and you're looking for a price, it will tell you typically anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000. At the current time, which is, what are we in, June of 2026? So this is a 24-year-old knife. Here in October, it'll be 25 years. These are not easy to get a hold of, and when they do come up for sale, you better jump on them. Due to the current market, this is one thing that I wanted to bring up, because here in 10 years, all this is obviously going to be totally different. You know, these things could be worth a fucking house in 10 years from now, for all I fucking know. I have no intentions of getting rid of this at all. But So the current market price, if you Google it, it'll say $1,500 to $2,000 depending on condition. Realistically, I'm seeing people put these up for roughly $1,000, and the market is just shit. It's just people don't have a whole lot of money right now. Gas is through the roof. $140 worth of groceries will last you 2 to 3 days. It's we're living in very different times. But once things stabilize and people are like, oh, okay, well, $100 is now worth $10, but now instead of making $20,000 a year, I'm making $80,000 a year, so it's not that big of a deal. Once things even out, I think that there's a lot of things coming ahead. These are going to significantly increase in price, obviously, with inflation and all of that. These are collector's items that you do not get rid of. You do not sell. If you're desperate, you will go sell a kidney before you go sell one of these. Man, I really wish I knew somebody who would do that. Like I'd fucking sell my kidney for, $100,000 or something. I'm just kidding. But anyway, so this in particular model, the Halo 2, it's 3.5 ounces. I'm just going to kind of go over some things. We're not going to get into the specifics of 154 cm steel. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, you can find so much information on Knife Geeks. You can just Google up what the specifications of 154 cm are, what type of heat treat, HRC, all that stuff. I think I spent a lot of time researching things that I don't think people really give a shit about, and that's why I'm kind of opting out of that, because there's a lot to this knife that I really want to go over. So real quick, open length, the entire length when the blade is open, is 9.375 inches. The blade length itself is 4 inches. When these were produced in 1995, I think the target consumer, I believe, as I read, was law enforcement and military personnel. And somebody, Anthony Marfione, spent a lot of time engineering these for search and rescue, police officers, military, to have a reliable OTF made out of premium products. As the years grew on, and this is built out of T6 aluminum, it's anodized aluminum, things have changed. There's different coatings now, like we have DLC, diamond-like coatings, things like that, things have just sort of changed over the years. That doesn't mean that this is not a absolute rugged, durable OTF. That just means that things have improved from here. Usually when I hit this thing, it goes too fast. So a couple of questions. One is, would I EDC this? Obviously, and knowing what this knife is a piece of history to Microtech, I would absolutely not EDC this. But let's live in a delusional fantasy land where these are readily available and they are $500 a piece still to this day, as they were in 2002. I think they might have been $5.95 or something like that, or maybe it was $4.95. But anyway, would I EDC this if these were $500 and readily available? Absolutely. The amount of enjoyment that I would get pulling something like this out of my pocket and using it for whatever the hell I'm using it for. I would love to have something like this, to EDC this every day. This is a very, I want to say the word gothic looking knife. And some things have changed. I do have a Microtech Halo IV with me as well. This is the Tanto version. I do like the Tanto. I already had one clip point, so I was kind of like, you know, let's see what the other side of the world looks like. That is very, very gothic looking. And I think, you know, like the design of the handles is not like a coffin, but for some reason it reminds me of one, which is very cool to me. The look of the clip point itself is a very, very vicious looking knife. It's obviously designed for piercing. You can tell by the needle-like shape of the tip. You probably wouldn't even feel it sinking in. As far as price, again, we're living in a delusional fantasy land where these are $500 and they're readily available, so if something happens, you can buy another one. I'm currently EDCing a $600 Microtech Glycon. I've been EDCing this every day for a month. This has not left my pocket for a month. I have slept with this. I've woken up to this. I've carried this into work. I'm kind of a weirdo. I have a knife for cutting, which is like a basic bullshit knife, like a Spyderco. I don't mean to call them bullshit knives. Just a basic pocket knife, so that if somebody sees me using it, it's not going to be like a let's go alert the police situation. You know what I mean? Because people still kind of freak out over stilettos, over automatics, whether it's out the side or out the front. They're not as widely accepted outside of the knife community, especially when you're working with females. And I am completely surrounded by females who live in this delusional fantasy land where everything's basically Disneyland, and anything separate from that is a scary thing. You know, I try to open people up to the world of knives, and I'm pretty good at getting angles, at getting people interested. That previously saw no value, especially in spending something like $800 for the IV, when people have an understanding of what they are, what they're made out of, who made them, when people have an understanding of what they're built for, then they begin to see the value. But it takes somebody to pass that knowledge along. So I EDC an OTF, and currently it's the Glycon. I do have a combat Troodon. It's a combat Troodon Hellhound. I don't want to EDC that because it's so pretty. If anything happened to it, I'd fucking just die. The Glycon is very pretty too, but for some reason I feel like I need to carry this. I don't know why, but so I carry 3 knives on me. I carry a balisong for fun, for playtime. I carry a basic pocket knife so that if somebody sees me doing something, opening up something, they don't freak the fuck out. And then I carry an OTF as basically, I would love to say the word self-defense opportunity, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I mean, I stay prepared, and I have other things other than knives to protect myself with, but these are more of like a photographic opportunity for me, and I take vanity photos. For those of you who are just tuning in and you have no idea who I am a complete lunatic. I can't stress that I have made that abundantly clear in my poetry. I write poetry to knives, but I will say I only write poetry to ballad songs, the bally song. I've never wrote poetry to any other knife. And this Microtech Halo 2, I suppose you could say I have a very lustful eye for violence, I suppose, which has nothing to do with a knife, but I guess I would say that it couldn't be more prettier, if that makes any sense. I know that doesn't make any sense at all, but this would be the one exception. If I was going to write poetry about a knife that was not a bally song, it would be this one. And I've never done that before. I've never wrote poetry to any other knife. I've only done that to the bally song because I have a deep rooted connection with the bally song, and I have a deep understanding of it, and it is a part of my life, and it is a part of my soul. So with that being said, let me take you into my world for a moment. You have to, if you're able to, envision. And what do I envision with this knife? Well, I can imagine waking up from a concussion. And I wake up and half of my apartment is blown to bits, and there's steel beams hanging out over a pile of rubble, and there's smoke in the air, and there's a crack in the sky, and there's fire raining down, and there's all these people running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and there's fucking demons flying around ripping people's heads off and drinking their blood. And I walk out onto the steel beam, and I overlook the blackout skies in a city in ruins. Imagine looking down in your hands and seeing this. Doesn't that just fit perfectly? That is the perfect knife. That is fulfilled a vision. I don't know how to say that, but it's beautiful. And I think the articulate engineering of this knife with the ribbed handles, with the style of blade, with the holes, it couldn't have been more perfect. The Halo changed a lot of people's minds about OTFs because in the 80s we had nothing but garbage. We had nothing but trash. And this is a piece of history. This is, in my opinion, the Halo is what changed history of what a good OTF should be. I also failed to mention, for those of you who don't know, this is a single action OTF. So dual actions, in particularly, you can do it on the side on this one, or you can do it on the top. Right? So pull back, and it needs your momentum to pull the spring. and then you push forward, and it needs your momentum to shoot it out, right? God, that's beautiful. I don't know why I love this knife so much. I don't know why. It's just pretty. And I'm not really one for colors. I'm really not. Except for red. Fucking love that shit. So single action OTFs, and these in particular models, you have to press the button in, and there's a charging handle that you pull back to reset the blade, and you push the charging handle back in, clip, and then you press the button. Boop. So, people will say that if you press the button, it will go through you, and it won't. It will go a lot further than a dual action. But if you had this charged and you put this up against somebody's body and you press this button and fired it, it's not going to go all the way through. It's going to do a lot more damage than a dual action, because a dual action will basically immediately fall off track. But on a single action, that blade is not going to stop coming out until all of the charge in that spring is exhausted. Which means however much power there is behind that spring is how far that blade is going to go. So Anthony Marfione knew that, and on both of these models, he's designed a detent right there, so that if this is in your pocket and it presses up against something, it won't fire. You actually have to go inside of this circle and press this button below that circle to fire the knife. So would I EDC this in a fucking heartbeat? If these were $500 and readily available, this would be my one knife. This would be the knife that I spend my life with, aside from the Balisong. I would use it for everything. I would have several different models. I would take one to work with me and use it every single day. I would sharpen it myself. I would live with this knife. I would breathe with this knife. I would cut my food with this knife. I would rely on this knife for every task that I needed. And that's where my appreciation comes from, because people don't know how important knives are until you have one. And it used to be, well, you don't know how important knives are until you don't have one. Because back in the day, believe it or not, when you were 10 years old, your dad would give you a pocket knife, and you could take that to school and show people your new pocket knife. And they had jackknives, and this was a long time ago, mind you. Nowadays, you can't do that. I think if you take a fucking toenail clipper with a little fucking sharp file on it, they'll probably suspend you today. So when that joy got taken out of the equation, I think people just found a way to live without knives. And that's why knife collectors seem so odd, because why collect more than one knife when a knife does what another knife will do? And they don't understand. Well, I clearly, you can see by the knives that I have why anybody would want to collect these, and keep them forever. But on that note of people not knowing what they have until they have it, basically, you don't realize how much you need a knife until you actually have one and you're using it. And then the next thing you know, you find out that you're using it for all kinds of stuff. Whether it's, cleaning out your fingernails, or opening up letters, or opening up boxes, or just pulling out and taking pictures of, like I do. Fucking doing all kinds of weird shit, writing poetry and, freaking setting up an altar and all. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But, you know, I just, people have tried to find a way to live their lives without pocket knives, I think since roughly the 70s, maybe. And unfortunately, a lot of the anti-knife community, I guess, I don't know what to call them, I think probably started out with the switchblades, and that was because they were used in movies as gang weapons, and people portrayed them as gang weapons. But honestly, by the time you get close enough to stab somebody, you could probably do a lot more damage with a fucking hammer or a baseball bat or a crowbar or a car. I mean, I could think of 1,000 different things that are probably more dangerous than a knife. But I hope I've kind of like opened up for the people who don't understand where the obsession comes from, and it's pieces of history like this. It's magnificently engineered designs, iconic knives that will go down in history. It's growing up with these. It's living with them and understanding how useful they are. It's owning a piece of art. These knives literally do become a part of you when you live with them. And I'm not kidding you, take them into the fucking bathroom. Right? They're in your pocket constantly. If you go to the bank, your knife's right there. You go inside a grocery store, your knife's right there. You go in a church, your knife's in your fucking pocket. Everywhere you go, that knife is on you. That knife eventually will become a second nature and a part of you. And what better piece to have become a part of you than something like this? And now you see my point of view on this knife. I love Anthony Marfion. I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not a lot of people that feel the exact same way. And I'm totally aware of the Heretic line, and I have no problems at all. That is a respectable knife in the knife community. But I will stick with Microtech. I think that Microtech is one of the greatest knife companies in the world, in my opinion, and that's why I have so many of them. I would pick a Microtech over Benchmade. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody what I would pick a Microtech over, but because I could just list a lot of things. But there's other knives out there that have a beauty to them, like the Todd Bay Quaken. There's so many different designs out there. Civivi came out with one 2 years ago. I can't remember the name of it, but I hate Civivi. I can't stand that company. Like I bought like 3 or 4 of their knives, and then I bought like 2 Ruikes, and I was not a fan of those knives at all. They were so, back in the day, they were just so cheaply built that I was like, who the fuck would want this shit? And I literally gave them all away. I didn't even sell them. I just gave them away because I didn't want them in my collection. I didn't want to be seen with those fucking things. But anyway, it's not, with me, I would say owning something like this is not like a social status thing, which for some people who EDC high-end knives, it is a social status thing. When they're cutting up their fucking cocaine, they want to be seen with a $50,000 knife. You know, good for them. For me, it is a feeling that I get when I deploy that button. When I press that button and deploy that blade. I mean, it's the feeling you get from the power and the speed of that blade coming out immediately at your command. It's the look of the blade. It's the feel. It's the there's something to this knife that fits right. And I'm going to go ahead and take this off the magnet to show you the ergonomics. Bloop. So here we have the ribbed aluminum handles, right? And that is an extremely comfortable grip in your hand. It fits perfectly. So does that. So does that. That fits perfectly. Anthony Marfione did an amazing job designing these, and unfortunately I had a Halo 5, and I don't know why or for what reason or who I was talking to or how it happened, but for some reason I ended up selling it. I think I might have traded it for like a hammer modded bare bones and a hammer modded Alpha Beast or something. I can't even remember. But I regret every day selling that thing. Like I tell people that all the time, that that Halo 5 has never left my mind. It's always been in the back of my mind. Like, God, why did you get rid of that? Man, that thing was fucking sexy. Jesus, man, you fucked up. You know? And it's not that they're not acquirable. They are acquirable. However, they have been in other people's hands. And when you're taking vanity photos of a piece of art, you do not want that piece of art to have scratches on it. You don't want that thing to have rusted fingerprints on it, because it destroys the photo, unless it's a purposeful patina. And now we're talking about copper, and this has nothing to do with, but what I'm saying is, yes, you can go out and buy one of these. People are not always accurate with their descriptions when they sell these, because they're trying to get as much money as they can. And what are you gonna do? You know, if it shows up and the blade's all marred up, or, you know, somebody fucking forgot to clean the blade or something like that, or, you know, there's a bunch of junk in it from rolling around in some construction guy's nasty ass fucking pockets where he keeps his snot rags and God knows what else. You know, these are acquirable, but man, you know, if you want a nice one that's pristine, like this one, it is very pricey. They do have a price. You know, I don't think that people are buying these to EDC, so that's why you don't see a lot of these for sale for $500 or $800, because these are not looked at as EDC anymore. These are looked at as pieces of history that need to be kept in pristine condition. So that's part of the reason why these are as pricey as they are. I really haven't seen one of these that's been beat up. I'm sure they're out there, but I have not seen them for sale beat up. And I have not seen these go for less than $800 and way worse condition than this. Huh. Like somebody had carried it and scratched the shit out of the fucking aluminum handles with car keys and God knows what else. I mean, like those are the ones that are selling for like 800. So, you know, when everything levels out and the world is, I don't know if it'll ever be back to normal, but you know, food is affordable, gas goes down, employment rates are up, things normalize, the housing market evens out, and they're not charging $7,000 for a studio apartment out in the middle of the desert. Location, 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 right? I think when things even out, this is probably going to quadruple in price. That's my prediction. Part of that is due to inflation, but also because during the hard times, what do people do? Well, people sell. And for the ones who didn't sell and didn't fall for the, oh my God, it's the apocalypse, it's right around the corner, we better sell all of our shit. The people who didn't fall for that garbage are gonna be the ones that walk out ahead. But the question is even when it does quadruple in price, do you really want to sell it? You know, for me, no, I don't. I will probably keep this until I die and maybe pass this down to offspring, but really my views on relationships have changed because I've watched them, you know, catastrophically ruin people's lives. So once you get a little bit older, all of a sudden having a girlfriend's not as important as it once was. I know it's hard to believe that, but you know, when you don't have any friends and you don't have a girlfriend and you're not married and you don't have kids, this is what we do, guys. This is, you're looking at it. We collect knives. That's what we do. Fuck off, you know? No, but you know, it's a passion of mine. I you know, I have such an eye for things. I have such a different perspective, and it may not be refreshing to some. It may actually be pretty frightening for some, and that's okay. It's okay to be different. But you know, these satisfy an itch with me, and that's why I keep buying Microtechs. And you know, I'm glad I got to share this piece with you guys today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I will never eat easy. This is, it's not often I bring out a item from my private collection, but I have a few that I kind of want to go, I kind of want to do reviews on and kind of want to talk about. I still haven't done a review on the Glycon. I need to, but yeah, so this is my Halo 2, guys, and I appreciate you all tuning in and kind of getting my perspective and how I feel about these knives. And you know, feel free to let me know in the comments how you know, if you think I'm a lunatic, go ahead and tell me. You know, you're not telling me something I don't already know, for one, and for two, I don't accept constructive criticism from people who have never constructed anything, so go fuck yourself. I'm just kidding. That's just me being a jackass. But remember that. If somebody's talking shit to you, just say that. Just be like, hey, I don't accept constructive criticism from people who have never constructed anything. And you'll just totally make them look like a piece of shit. But anyway, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all later on the next one. All right, guys, peace. Hey, guys, I totally forgot to mention, if you guys are looking for rare pieces, or if you're looking to add to your collection, there are a lot of amazing knives. Don Farmer has some one-offs in his shop. His phone number is 480-849-3212. You can visit his website and see what he's got in stock. He's got some amazing knives up for grabs. And if you get the chance, you should really take a look at them, because some of these one-offs are beautiful pieces of art. It's really amazing. But if you ever get the chance, Don Farmer D&K knives, totally worth taking a look at. All right, guys, peace.